Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about the futility for most guys of attempting to boost or optimize their testosterone levels. Now, I'm not saying that if you have a dietary deficiency or something else that's causing your testosterone levels to be too low, that improving your health and boosting those levels back up into the normal range a little further can't have some quality of life benefits. It absolutely can. It absolutely can. That's a good thing. But that falls back under the whole concept of general health. And yeah, as men, we should have solid testosterone levels to be healthy, right? It's just part of our health, our wellness, our sense of well being is tied to it. There's a lot to that, there's a lot of benefits there. The problem we have is that when people obsess over testosterone, to the point where they think they're going to gain large amounts of muscle because something that they do that isn't reversing something catastrophic that they did to their own body, such as dieting down to 7% body fat, that'll crash your testosterone levels in a heartbeat. That will give you the testosterone levels of a castrated eunuch, right? And that's confirmed by studies. Every single legitimate natural bodybuilder out there complains that they have no sex drive when they cut. Well, yeah, because the human body isn't intended to be 7% body fat, right? That's just stupid. That's stupid. You shouldn't do that to yourself. You abused yourself and your hormones were disrupted as a result. Well, obviously. But barring something like that, the only way you're going to see a significant, meaningful, positive increase in testosterone to the point to where you will gain a measurable amount of muscle is with pharmaceutical grade substances, right? That's the only way. A prescription from your doctor or something you bought from the guy in the locker room at your gym. That's about it. Over-the-counter testosterone boosters and even all these little things that people do discussing optimizing your testosterone are not going to boost your testosterone levels enough to gain muscle mass. And the only reason that we associate high testosterone with people gaining muscle is twofold in nature. Number one, obviously, the big one, men have more muscle than women. But that's not because there's minor shifts. That's not because men have 20 or 30 or 50% more testosterone than women. You need to understand that men have dramatically more, right? The testosterone level multiplier of the average man over the average woman is like the amount between the average man and a guy who abuses anabolics, right? That's the level of difference. Furthermore, it's not just about your current levels at that point, it's a matter of growing up with it. In other words, men who drop to really low, clinically low testosterone levels can still gain muscle faster than women. And women still gain muscle. And that needs to be pointed out also. People who are suffering from low testosterone levels can still gain muscle. They're just not going to gain it quite as fast. They're going to gain it a little bit slower. It's not like your muscle gain is going to drop to a third or you're going to stop gaining muscle because of low testosterone. It's just not going to be as good as if you had a normal amount. But that's a medical condition. But back over to the point, women still gain muscle, right? They still gain muscle even with testosterone levels that are nearly zero by male standards. They still gain muscle. But you do need to understand part of the reason men gain it is that we're set up all through life. In other words, we have higher testosterone levels in utero. We have higher testosterone levels even before we reach puberty. Little boys are slightly stronger than little girls. That's just a fact. It's just the gap grows larger once we reach puberty. Gap grows larger. And we know it also because we see people who abuse anabolics who gain large amounts of muscle, and that's indisputable. Multiple studies, controlled studies have confirmed that weightlifting isn't even required to gain muscle mass pretty rapidly once these substances are put into the body. However, you need to understand that these are several times higher than what an 18-year-old male would produce naturally. These aren't amounts that are from optimizing. These are from people straight up pinning 4 times, 5 times what they have in their body. It's not like, oh, they had a 50% boost in their testosterone production and then they gained a bunch of muscle. And the highest I've ever seen was on Dallas McCarver's autopsy. His testosterone level was 100 times that of a normal man. Right? 100 times. He had the testosterone of 100 men on his autopsy in the toxicology. 100 times. That's not a little 50% boost. That's what, a 10,000% boost. 10,000%. Not 50, not 40, not 30. So when you see people talking about these different over-the-counter products that in theory in this one person who had low testosterone boosted at 30 or 40%, notice they usually still had low levels. In other words, you don't ever see any of the studies that have shown a boost in testosterone from a test booster, which most of them show they don't. Like usually if you take a test booster and 3 different studies are done, 2 out of 3 usually show that they don't see any significant increase, and 1 of the 3 will show an increase. But when you look at the final blood hormone levels, what do you see? Do any of those guys ever have really high testosterone? Like you see that and go, man, that's super high. He's like way up there for a normal guy. No, they still just have average testosterone. So the very few that I've ever seen, the guys end up with something like, a 500 or a 550 nanogram per deciliter. Well, the reference range is 300 to 1,000. 500 or 550 is not all that amazing. That's just considered a normal, healthy range. So sometimes they boost up to that because they were slightly below average, but still in the normal range, right? Or you saw Lobliner's thing where he showed a guy who had basically clinically low testosterone, probably from dieting down too lean, who goes on his test booster and he ends up with testosterone that's still on the very low end of the normal range. It was below average even after he took the product. So the end result was a guy who had low testosterone ended up boosting up to still below average testosterone. He still didn't have high testosterone. It wasn't even average. It was slightly below average while still being considered in the normal range. The reality is there is no reasonable evidence to suggest that testosterone levels inside the normal range meaningfully impact muscle growth. In other words, a minor transient shift in your hormone production doesn't cause a measurable change in muscle growth. In other words, if we go take a bunch of guys on average and we take 10 guys who have a 20% higher testosterone production than another 10 guys, like we go select a bunch of guys, take 100 guys, right? We find 10 of them who are at around 450 nanograms per deciliter, and we go find 10 guys who are at like 520 to 540, right? That's what we take. And we have them all strength trained. Did you know that there's no actual evidence that would suggest that the group with the slightly higher amounts are going to gain more muscle? Because they won't. There's no reason to think that. In fact, if any of the other guys in the other group happen to train harder, or they're just blessed with better genetics for gaining muscle, guess what's going to happen? They're going to gain more muscle than the guy who has slightly higher testosterone, because it doesn't seem to matter. In other words, minor shifts inside the normal range, unless you're at the very extreme ends, does not seem to matter for muscle growth. Doesn't seem to matter. And most of the things that we think of as boosting testosterone are just parts of normal, healthy living. Yes, if you eat a nice, balanced, healthy diet that's not deficient in any fats, it's not deficient in any fat-soluble vitamins, not deficient in any minerals, and you're physically active, you're not extremely emaciatedly lean, which most bodybuilders get to. It's promoted in the physique world, so no wonder there's the obsession with testosterone, because they're doing things to their body that make it go down. Or your body fat is so excessively high that it might blunt your production slightly due to aromatase activity and other stuff. In other words, if you live a generally healthy lifestyle and you're physically active and you eat a good balanced diet that's not deficient in anything, and you eat enough calories without being too fat, your testosterone levels are usually going to be pretty good. But that's just overall health. That's just following a good balanced diet. And what I would suggest to the majority of you out there is that if you just eat a good diet comprised of a wide variety of food groups, you're not deficient in anything, and I mean not deficient in vitamin D3 or E or vitamin A, and you're not eating too low of a fat diet, like you're not trying to eat a 5% fat diet or something stupid, and you're physically active and you lift weights, you probably are going to optimize your testosterone about as much as you could want to. And Your overall gain in muscle is going to have more to do with your balanced, healthy lifestyle than it is to just your testosterone levels being normalized. And all in all, you really shouldn't worry about it. Just be healthy and fit and eat a good diet and be active and lift weights. That's what you need to do instead of worrying about trying to optimize testosterone when whatever you could possibly do to it is not going to have a meaningful effect. And if your testosterone levels are low enough that you need a meaningful effect, you need to go see an endocrinologist, not buy an over-the-counter product to fix it. That's a medical issue. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.